Hey you guys, welcome back. Today we're going to go over combining like terms and the distributive property. Both of those methods are used to simplify expressions, and before we've been using them one at a time, but now we're going to use them both at the same time. All right? Before we do that though, fact number 28 about me. I love the Toy Story movies. And even cooler about those, this first one, the Toy Story, the original Toy Story 1, was the very first movie I ever saw in a movie theater. It came out in 95, so I was about 2 or 3. And I obviously don't remember that experience. My mom says I loved it. And of course, I've loved the Toy Story movies ever since. Who wouldn't love those? They're great. And you know what's even cooler is that next year, or maybe in 2026, they just announced Toy Story 5. It's going to be about toys versus technology. So trying to get kids to play with toys instead of just trying to play with an iPad or a tablet or something. So I can't wait to see it. I love those movies. I love those characters. And again, kind of cool that it was my first movie I ever saw in a theater, and they're just as good as they ever were. So let's get back to the math. Today, once again, we're going to talk about simplifying expressions using these methods. So again, these are all ways to simplify expressions. Okay? Whenever we have these, we always have to do one before the other. We always have to use this one first, the distributive property. The reason for that is because a lot of you guys remember the order of operations, PEMDAS. The P stands for parentheses. The distributive property is the only one that really involves parentheses. So we have to use distributive property first. After we've used the distributive property, then we can go and combine all our like terms. So first is the distributive property, then we'll go and combine the like terms. So let's look at a few examples. Let's look at number 1. So I have this long expression. Once again, the first thing I have to use is the distributive property. So I'm going to take this 5 and distribute it to everything inside the parentheses. Whenever we distribute, we're talking about multiplication. So 5 times 3x, that gives me 15x. All I do is multiply the 5 and the 3, and of course, keep the x the exact same. Plus, I'll bring down that plus sign that was already inside the parentheses. 5 plus 2, that gives me 10. Now I've taken care of the distributive property. You know what a lot of kids try to do? They try to do 5 into 3x, which is good. Distribute the 5 and 2, which is good. And they try to do this. They try to distribute out here to the 4. We don't do that. The reason is because the 4 is outside the parentheses. We're only distributing the 5 to what is inside the parentheses. The 4 is way too far. All right, it's outside, so we don't mess with it, at least not in terms of distributing that 5. All right, so I'm going to give that an erase so that we don't get confused with it. All right. And instead of distributing that 5 to the 4, all I'm going to do is bring that 4 straight down because I didn't mess with it before. So now that we've done the distributive property, we're going to move on and combine like terms. So remember, like terms are any terms with the same variable raised to the same power. Look in here, 15x, it has no like terms because there's no other terms with an x in it. So it's going to stay right by itself. 10 plus 4, those don't have any variables. Those are constants. Those are like terms. Plus 10 plus 4, that gives me 14. 15x plus 14. That's the simplified expression of that. Look how much easier this is to mess with and handle and deal with than this one up here. We'd much rather have this simplified expression. Let's look at the next one. Wow, this is a lot as well, but it's similar. I'm just going to go and distribute because I use distributive property first. I'm going to distribute out to everything inside the parentheses. So negative 3 times 6y, I just multiply the numbers. I get negative 18y. Negative 3 times positive 2, that gives me negative 6. I'm going to keep that in parentheses just to keep the addition sign away from the negative sign. All right? And then plus 4y, I bring it straight down. I didn't distribute the negative 3 way over here because 4y is outside the parentheses. Okay? So now let's go and combine like terms. Negative 18y. Like terms, anything else with a y in it? Oh, 4y. Negative 18y plus 4y. All I do is add the coefficients. Negative 18 plus 4. That gives me negative 14. And I keep the y the exact same. I'll mark them out because I'm done with those. Plus negative 6. I keep it in parentheses to keep the negative away from the plus sign. If, however, you want to write it like this, negative 14y minus 6, just fine too. Those are the same expressions. Whatever you're more comfortable with, I would accept both on a test or a quiz. Both are perfect. Let's look at number 3. So we have subtraction in this problem. Whenever we have subtraction, I always go and change it into addition and change the sign of the following number. Change it into addition and change the sign of the following number. We always use that add the inverse. So whenever we see subtraction, we're going to add the opposite. Add the opposite. It's much easier to deal with addition rules than subtraction rules. So now let's go and do this. The first thing we always do is the distributive property. It's our first step. Whenever it's available, we have to do it first. So positive 8 times 2a. That gives me a 16a. That is a 6. There we go. Plus, I'll bring that plus sign because it was already in the parentheses. 8 times negative 4. That gives me negative 32. Keep it in parentheses to keep my work nice and neat. And then I'll bring down the rest of this plus negative 5a. Once again, I have the parentheses only to separate the plus sign from the negative sign. All right, let's go combine like terms. 16a, that is a like term with negative 5a. I'm going to add the coefficients. 16 plus negative 5. That adds up to give me 11a. I'm done with those. And then negative 32. Oh, that doesn't have any coefficient or any like terms. So plus negative 32. That is a parentheses right there. Or you could have written it like this, 11a minus 32. Same exact expression, just whatever you prefer. Let's look at the next one. So first thing, we always do the distributive property first. I'm going to distribute that 4 out to everything inside the parentheses. 4 times 3x, and that gives me 12x. Bring down my plus sign. 4 times 5y, that gives me 20y. Oh wait, that's an x right there. I accidentally wrote down a y. See how easy it is to make little mistakes like that? That's 12x, not 12y. Let's see, plus 20y, I'll bring down the 2x because it wasn't in parentheses, so I couldn't mess with it yet. Now I'm going to go and combine like terms. I have 12x. Let's see, that's a like term with the 2x. I'm going to add the coefficients. 12 plus 2 gives me 14. Keep the x the same. And then 20y, that doesn't have any like terms, so it's just plus 20y. It's just the same. That's my simplified expression there. All right, now let's scroll down so we can do the rest of these problems. I'm going to give this an erase just so we have plenty of room. All right, looking at this, let's see, I got number 5. So number 5. Oh, that's a lot of terms in there. Wow, that looks like a lot to do. So first thing we always do is the distributive property. I'm going to go and distribute whatever is outside of the parentheses to every term inside the parentheses. So negative 5 times negative 6 gives me positive 30x. If you don't have those multiplication rules and addition rules whenever we're talking about negative numbers, it might make some of this a little tricky. All right, so negative 5 times negative 6 is positive 30. Bring down the x, and then I have my plus sign right there. Negative 5 times 2, that is negative 10. I'll keep it separated with parentheses to keep that addition sign away from the negative sign. And then I'm going to bring down everything else that was left because I didn't get to mess with it because it wasn't in the parentheses. So now I'm going to go and combine like terms. Before I always do this though, I always go and change all these subtraction signs into addition signs. And then change the sign of the following number. So now let's go and combine like terms. I have 30x. Let's see, like term, negative 3x. 30 plus negative 3, that gives me positive 27. X, bring it down. Done with those. And now I have negative 10 plus 7. That gives me negative 3. Or I could write it 27x minus 3. Either way, same thing. Let's look over here. Again, I have to use the distributive property first. I hope I'm saying that enough because it's so important. I can't go and combine like terms 3a and negative 2a because, again, I have to use that 7 and distribute it first. So distributive property has to be used first. So let's look at this. Oh, wait, I have a subtraction sign. Always change those to addition and change the sign of the following number. So 7 times negative 2a, that gives me negative 14a. Bring down that plus sign. 7 times negative 5b, that gives me negative 35b. I just multiply the 7 and the negative 5. Oh, wait, I didn't get that b in there. Hang on one second. Let me change that. negative 35b, perfect. And then I'm going to bring down the rest of the stuff in that expression because I didn't get a chance to use it. Plus 3a minus b. Now I'm going to go combine like terms. But hey, I see a subtraction sign. Again, whenever I see those, I always change them into addition and change the sign of the following number. And look at this one. This is plus negative b. There is no coefficient with that b. There's no number in front of it. If that's the case, I know there's always a 1. So this is actually a coefficient of negative 1. That's right in front of the b. So let's go and combine these. I have negative 14a combined with 3a. Those are like terms because they have the same variable. Negative 14 plus positive 3, that gives me negative 11a. I'm done with those. Negative 35b plus negative 1b. Let me rewrite that. It looks a little messy. Negative 1b. That's negative 35 plus negative 1. That gives me negative 36. Plus negative 36. Oh my gosh. Let me rewrite that so it's easier to read. Plus negative 36. Whoops. Negative 36b. All right, there we go. You guys, what's going on? Negative 36b. Let's look at the next one. Now, this is a little confusing. This looks like a lot is going on in there. Let me get some water because I'm coughing over here. Now, looking at this, a lot of kids see this and they want to distribute the number that's furthest left. They want to use this negative 3x and start doing this. We don't do that. We don't do that, though. The number we distribute is the number that is connected to the parentheses. The number connected to the parentheses here is 2. I'm going to distribute the 2 to everything inside. All right? But before that, I see a subtraction sign. Let me go change that to addition and the sign of the following number. There we go. So now, 2 times negative x. Remember, there's no number there, but there is a negative 1, even though we don't write it. So that's really negative 2x plus 2 times negative 9. That's negative 18. I just multiplied 2 by both of those terms. And now I'm going to bring down everything else because I didn't mess with it. Negative 3x plus, let me rewrite that. That's a mess. So negative 3x plus negative 2x. I'll keep it in parentheses to separate that negative from the addition sign. Minus 8x plus 3. So now I use the distributive property. I'm just going to go and combine like terms. Oh, wait, I see another subtraction sign. Let me change that to addition and the sign of the following number. So let's combine like terms. I have negative 3x and negative 2x and negative 8x. Let me do one at a time. Negative 3x plus negative 2x. That gives me negative 5x. Then negative 5x plus negative 8x. That gives me negative 13x. And now let me mark them out because they are done. I finished those, okay? We can only add 2 numbers at a time, so sometimes it's best when we take it in steps. Negative 18 plus 3, that gives me negative 15. And that's what we're looking for there, okay? And let's look at the last one. Again, wait, look. Whenever I see a subtraction, I change the sign to addition and change the sign of the following number. But look at this. There's no number in front of the parentheses. Whenever that's the case, I know there's actually a 1 in front of there. And in this case, it happens to be a negative 1 because I changed the subtraction to addition and the sign of the following number. So I changed that positive 1 that was out there into a negative 1. Let's go and distribute that negative 1. So negative 1 times 9x, that's negative 9x. Negative 1 times positive 3, that is negative 3. And then I'm just going to go and bring down everything else. So negative 5x plus 7 plus negative 9x plus negative 3 minus 2. I'll change that to addition and the sign of the following number. Now let's go and add like terms. I have negative 5x, negative 9x. All right, that's all I have for that. It's negative 14x. Mark those out because I'm done with them. And then 7 plus negative 3 plus negative 2. Let's see, negative 3 plus negative 2, that's negative 5. Plus positive 7, that's positive 2. I'm left with negative 14x plus 2. All right, you guys, thanks for sticking around for the whole video. I will see you guys in class tomorrow.